Good morning to you, everybody. Mark Sudduth, Hurricane Track here. Monday now, the 5th day of January 2026. Good to see you. Got the chat going, the talking weather here for the first full week of the new year. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Got a great lineup for you today. By the way, it's just going to be me. CJ has a regular 9 to 5 job, although entrepreneurship, content creators, hey, we're all part of that economy as well. So the whole idea of get a regular job, this is kind of a regular job, right? Anyway, CJ does have his other job, we shall say. That's actually a good way to put it. And so he won't be joining us today. Mondays are usually a really busy day for just about everybody in the workforce. You got all those emails to catch up on, meetings to be had. So it'll just be Mark Sudduth, me today. But again, I got a pretty good lineup for you. We'll just chit chat for a second or two as we wait for people to get their notifications from the YouTube. And of course, if you're on our Discord connected to our Patreon, you should already see that. A little early today, also, I've just got a lot, speaking of Mondays, a lot going on in my world today. So I wanted to get this done. Not like it's a chore. I thoroughly enjoy this, but I needed to go a little early. And since it's my show and we're not up against network guardrails of traditional linear TV, we can go whenever we like and we can go as long as we like. Anyway, what to talk about as we just, again, burn a minute or two here waiting for people to get online. Um, Sports weekend, kind of a, you know, 50-50 kind of deal in terms of how sports was because there were several NFL teams that their seasons were already done. So, okay. And I think the surprise, though, to some is that the Carolina Panthers, our closest NFL team here in North Carolina, they are going to be hosting the very first playoff game. I think the first time in 8 years. That's going to be coming up. And if memory serves, it's the Steelers. So when we do have CJ back on, we can talk about that because he is from PA. In basketball world, of course, big Duke fan. My Blue Devils, I tell you, something's goofy with them lately. They're just barely winning, and they lost that game against Texas Tech several games back when they were up 17. And I don't know, but it's interesting because my friend Mike Farrow reminds me that in high school and even in college, that these are still young people and their emotions can be absolutely all over the place. And anything can happen, especially high school. Think about the quarterback, and maybe the field goal kicker, anybody, a receiver that's normally spot on. Maybe they're having girlfriend problems. Maybe there's something at home. Who knows what it is? Somebody could have passed away, and everything just gets weird. And that carries over into certainly college sports. But on the whole, I'm just kind of worried about Duke barely winning against teams. They were struggling down there at Florida State, who was 8-7 or 7-8 or something like that. And Duke was 12-1 or whatever. And Duke should have come in and handled that very easily. And I was nervous watching it on the YouTube TV downstairs, like, come on. And they pulled it out. And so there you go. Just trying to burn the clock a little bit here as we wait for people to jump on the Monday edition of Talking Weather. But yeah, we do have playoff season coming up. And I believe the Bills, the old Buffalo Bills there, if I'm not mistaken, they played their last game in Highmark Stadium. I have been there. I have shoveled some snow there before, even though I'm not from Buffalo. I just happened to be in the area. That's a story for another day. We'll do that on a Throwback Thursday sometime down the road. Speaking of Throwback Thursday, this week, the Throwback Thursday coming up this week, if you are a fan of severe weather, you know what I mean? Not like it wrecking your house kind of fan, but watching it, learning about it, the awe, the spectacle of it. This Throwback Thursday is definitely going to be one that you want to tune into because we're going to go and take a look at some stuff we did many Thursdays ago or whatever it was, many moons ago. So Throwback Thursday this week. I'm excited about it. A good one for sure. All right, let's share the screen and get started with this here program now that the banter part is out of the way. First thing I need to do though is see if I can make one of these people a moderator. And I believe I just did. All right. So, Howard, I think that it has been accomplished. All right, Rams versus Panthers. I support the Denver Broncos for very strange reasons. I hear you, Catherine. Good to see Bethany on here. All right, that's awesome. All the new folks that we can see, it's terrific. Good to see everybody. It's like we're one of the things about this program, I want to think of it is like we're all just hanging out at a big breakfast somewhere or whatever. And I'm just talking to you. We don't really have a format, so to speak, where everything has to be strict and just, some kind of following a formula. That's what the word format comes from. So it's just great to see friends, great to see people I've never heard of before. I like that. So welcome. So let me show you what we're going to talk about today. El Nino is coming. Yes, I won't say it's a foregone conclusion because nothing in the weather is 100% until it is happening, generally speaking. But it looks like it's coming, and that's going to be a really big deal. All right. So we're going to start talking about that more. All right. So we also have a warm start to 26. I am wearing the hoodie today, as you can see. My daughter gave me this hoodie last Christmas, and from where she works at Dockside here in Wilmington, at Wrightsville Beach anyway. But I got the hoodie on today, and will not tomorrow because it is warming up after today. We were like 35, 37 degrees this morning, whatever. It's going to be nice and warm, my kind of stuff. Shorts and t-shirt. In fact, for some of the errands that I have to do later today, part of the reason I need to do the show a little early today, I'm switching out. We'll get the strong sunshine, and I'm going to be out there in shorts and t-shirt on January the 5th. Absolutely. Boring weather. Wait till I show you. We really don't have much in terms of the rumors of storms segment. Boring, it really is. And when I show you a couple of these maps from the GFS and the Euro, I tweeted one of them out over the weekend, I think. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen such a blank weather map. We'll get to that. And if all goes well, we are going to the moon, as Ralph Cranston, is that his name? Cramden, sorry, not Cranston. Cranston's in Rhode Island. Ralph Cramden, whatever the hell his name is. I got to get my trivia right if I'm going to try to be a comedian, right? But old Ralphie there, the Honeymooners, at least I know the show, to the moon, right? So yeah, we're going back to the moon, God willing, right? And budgets and technology and all that stuff. But seriously, next month, going to be trying to get people around the moon again. We're going to send human beings the farthest, because it's distance, out into space that we've ever done. And that's the truth. It's coming up. And should have some really good high resolution pictures. And we can show people where we landed before. And that should put all that to rest. And we can show people that the Earth is round because it wrote anyway. We're going to the moon not to solve those problems, but because why not, I guess. I think it's cool. If space travel was as easy as airline travel and as inexpensive, I'd do it. How about you guys? So yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you some video. We'll call it Moon Monday. All right, there you go. So my favorite segment, honestly, maybe, I guess, this is just cool because I'm a geography nut and I'm a weather nut, weather geek, weather nerd, whatever. Sign me up. I'm there. The national high and low temperatures, simple maps to make. I do this over on my old Photoshop 5.5. I am not kidding. That thing's still running on my old Vio over there that I resurrected the other day using ChatGPT to help me swap out the hard drives, and we're back in business probably for another 10 to 15 years. Anyway, national high and low temps for yesterday. You guessed it, pretty much the same area in South Texas, La Puerta and Hidalgo. We'll take a look at those on the map in just a moment, an actual Google Street View. And then the national low temperature, like forget about it. You know what? If I had to write a book related to some things like that, it would be called, and I'm not gonna, we got kids watching, it'd be called F That. And you can just fill in the blanks, F that. So that would be chapter 4, page 6 of Mark Suttoth's upcoming book, F That minus 27. I don't do that. Maybe once I could, but no, that's just too cold for me. I like extremes in the weather department. That's like category fives. F that. I don't want to deal with that. No way. My cameras will, and they have. But yeah, minus 27 at Escort Station, Estcourt, not Escort. That's a whole different thing. Estcourt Station, way up there in Maine. You can probably throw a base. In fact, I know you could throw a baseball into Canada. They probably wouldn't like that, but you can, and I'll show you. So 84 at La Puerta Hidalgo, they share, and then minus 27 up at Escort Station, way up there almost to Canada. So what about La Puerta? We've shown Hidalgo often lately, so I'll show you La Puerta. It's in Texas. Whereabouts is it? Let's zoom out so you can get a perspective. Really close to the winding Rio Grande River as it snakes its way down eventually to the Gulf, down near Brownsville and Matamoros, etc. South Padre Island, not too far away, where the National Tropical Weather Conference is. But yeah, it's in southwestern Texas, the southwestern part of the Rio Grande Valley. That little area right there. Let's zoom back into the municipality of the thriving metropolis of La Puerta. We'll kill the city boundary, grab our Google Maps person, and let's just plop. There's a restaurant right there. Let's see what it is. Let's pop our Google Street View guy near wherever that restaurant was. I don't see it on here. What the heck? Maybe it's out here. So this is La Puerta, Texas. There's the restaurant right there. And what happened? Come on, let's try to go. There we are. So there's our restaurant. It is La Escondida Restaurant. So if you're ever down in La Puerta, tell them Mark sent you as you saw this on Talking Weather. Why do I show you this though? I think it's important that we learn a little geography and we just kind of get a lay of the land. This particular Google Street View was done in February 2 years ago. But yeah, this is La Puerta down there in Texas. Very, very unsurprising as to what it looks like, the landscape, etc. I've been close to this area before, again, going to the National Tropical Weather Conference farther down in the Rio Grande Valley. But there you go, La Puerta, Texas. What about Estcourt Station, way up there in Maine, just across the way from Canada? And we need like Will Arnett to come on and he can help talk about Canada, eh? That dude's got a heck of a voice. And he's got a movie coming out this weekend I'm looking to go see called Is This Thing On? I'm a big movie guy, in case you hadn't figured that out. You will. Anyway, it's not far from Canada, and as I zoom out and show you where in Maine we're talking about, that's it. That's as far north as you can get. Done deal. So that's where it is, minus 27. Sorry about that, folks, up there in Estcourt, Maine and surrounding areas of Canada. That is just too cold. But let's zoom in. Let's see what it looks like in beautiful Estcourt Station, presuming it's beautiful, Maine. It says grab the Google Street View fella. Nothing lights up except this that's 289. We're going to have to go over to Canada. There's no roads here that the Google Street View did. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, I'm doing it right. If I click that, it turns blue. Maybe right there, just inside the U.S. border. Wow, that's pretty. Very nice. That's frozen today. You know that is. What are we doing? What is this? How are we on how did the Google Street View guy get over on the walking path? What is happening? Anyway, here we are. I don't know how to read French. Anybody want to help? And you know what? As I get to know you folks, one day we'll have somebody on that can speak French, and I'll bring you on the Zoom, and you can read some of this stuff. But anyway, here's beautiful Estcourt Station, Canada-U.S. border. I think we're back on the US side over here, somehow moving along a path. I tell you what, I don't know how they do this with the Google Street View sometimes. There's a car. You can see it. It's just driving around this narrow road, the Rue de la something. It keeps disappearing. Frontier? I don't know. Didn't take it. I took Latin. Oh, there it is. Rue de la Frontier. Whatever. Rue. Maybe this is Canada. Whatever. This is where the national low temperature was. And if we go back to the um, bigger view, I just want to zoom in here. So there's the border. And if I grab the Google Street View guy, yeah, that's Canada. That's the Canadian side. There's just no, so there's just a station up here called Estcourt Station, Estcourt, but no roads. We got to find a road somewhere on the US side. I click it, nothing. Wow. So there's no roads up there that are mapped from the Google Street View. That's something else. All right, I learned something, as did you guys. What do you think about that? Anybody? Route of the frontier makes sense. Thank you. Yes, that does make sense. By the way, Latin and French not too far apart. Just saying. Anyway, so that's where the national low temperature was. All right. I thought this was funny. Speaking of maps, I like this account, Midwest versus the rest. Michigan, but the land and lakes are swapped. It kind of messes with your brain, doesn't it? I don't know how they created this, but there you go. Um, Superior Island instead of Lake Superior. So if everything was flipped, Huron Island, that's funny. Michigan Island, yeah. So Upper Sound and Michigan Sea. That's great. I like that. That's very clever. Whoever came up with this, and we got to see our friends at Midwest versus the rest tweet it out, so we could enjoy that humor. A little map humor for you. All right. Lower 48 and Alaska, Hawaii today, folks. Not going to leave them out. And I'll show you why. Pretty important. Let's grab the telestrator. And as Bob Ross used to say, run the colors across the screen. Now we got everything. We'll use a beautiful red today. Red flag warning. Speaking of red, so windy and dry. Fog. Get your foghorns ready. Identifying the colors for you. Green out here. Some flash flood and winter storm. Winter storm for the Cascades and elsewhere. The Olympics, maybe. I don't know my Oregon mountain range. That's on me. I'll have to learn it. But snowy conditions again out here in the Pacific Northwest. Let's just say that. Fog up here in parts of North Dakota. Winter weather advisories. But all in all, kind of boring on the grand scale. No news making big time weather right now. However, our friends down here in Hawaii, they're kind of going through it because of a Kona low. And you look at this, you go, whoa, what am I looking at? That is one heck of a busy map. Let us switch over to this green color and keep the stroke thick. So Hawaii, where are you? Well, there's Midway. And Hawaii, there's Honolulu. Yeah, this shows you what happens on a Mercator projection map. It gets stretched to all heck. These are the Christmas Islands. Anyway, this is just a gigantic map of the Pacific, or a map of the gigantic Pacific on a small scale. Look at it that way. Nevertheless, let's go back and let me show what's happening. Winter storm warning up in the higher elevations of the Big Island of Hawaii. High wind warning, gale warning, flood, you name it, because of this Kona low. Look at the radar real quick. Show you this. Look at the radar, I say. Pretty wet, pretty windy out there, high surf advisory, all that stuff. Why? What's the culprit? Well, National Weather Service has the answer to that question. Deep moisture being drawn up from the south ahead of a developing cold core. Kona low will produce periods of heavy snow and ice over the summits of Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. The low is expected to weaken southwest of the islands Tuesday through midweek. So, what is a Kona low? They are a major weather producer in the Hawaiian Islands. The word Kona means leeward in Hawaiian, which refers to the side of the island that is usually sheltered from the trade winds and rainfall. So it's a lee side low, leeward side, but not for these storms. I see. Learn more, weather science at weather.gov/jetstream. So if you're bored and you want something to do later today, you can learn all about it. So the winter storm warnings there in the higher elevations. And again, a little bit of an infographic on the Kona low. Sits out here, one or two of them could impact winter's fury. You don't think about winter's fury in Hawaii much, do you? Well, there you go. Converging warm, moist air creates heavy rain, flash flooding, isolated severe storms. Again, it means leeward and Hawaiian, which refers to the side of the island that is usually sheltered. When I was out there in 2018, long time ago now it seems, for Hurricane Elaine, I was in Oahu and I just couldn't believe it. When you left Honolulu and you went over towards the western side to, what is it, Kapolei? It looks like New Mexico over there. It's all dry and brown, whatever. And then you go over onto the windward side on Oahu around the east side there, and it looks like Jurassic Park. It was absolutely phenomenal. I was working out there with the Weather Channel at the time, and I had a good friend of mine that worked for CBS from Las Vegas, and she and her cameraman and producer were there. And it was just incredible to drive through these different, basically, climates in one area. So it's kind of like the state of Texas, but it only takes you 2 hours instead of 2 days to drive across the whole thing. So yeah, the windward and the leeward side of islands matters. Absolutely. So there you go. Kona low affecting our friends out there in Hawaii. Elsewhere, as I said over here, warm start to 26, and to that end, here we go. Above normal temperatures will gradually make its way. So temperatures and its, that's a typo, a grammatical, it's even uh because it's possessed. Anyway, I'm nitpicking, but I don't think that's how you say it. Whatever. We'll just call it like we see it. Above normal temperatures will evolve east over the next few days. While temperatures, I know we have some grammatical experts, grammar experts on here. Anyway, point is, it's going to warm up. We're not here to grade papers. While temperatures in the west will remain closer to normal, take a look at the max temperatures for the upcoming week. Yes, we are going to be in the 70s here, eventually 60s today. Very warm in the east, and I'm all about it. I love it. And then you see some of the comments. Please send lots of snow to Montana. We need it for the ski resorts and, more importantly, for the runoff in the spring. Well, we'll do the best we can, even though that's not a thing. But I get it. Yeah, the lack of snow does hurt the economy in lots of different ways. In ski resorts, the runoff later on, spring runoff, and too much of a good thing, you can get flooding. That's an interesting topic to look at down the road, but above normal temperatures gradually moving eastward, and I'm there for it for sure. All right, INSO news. Before we jump to that, let me just take a quick break to catch my breath and say hello to everybody here on the chat. All right. Found you through the X post. Excellent. Hey, I was just wondering today. So you call it X? No problem. I call it Twitter. Hopefully you don't have a problem with that. Bethany, I was actually wondering today, I was coming back home from dropping my son off at school, just thinking about all the things that we think about in this day and age. I was like, I wonder how many, something like 71,000 followers, I wonder how many of them are actually real. And if I post something, because I was debating as to whether or not to keep that $11 a month blue check mark fee going, is it worth it? I don't know. Like, did Bethany see the post because I paid the $11, or was she already a follower? I don't know. The point is, good to see you. I'm glad you found my post there on what I call Twitter. But you can call it X, you can call it Y, you can call it Z, and it's just fine with me. But I'm glad you're watching. That's the point. Let's get back to it. Big topic here coming up over the coming months. INSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation, and El Nino cometh. It is on the way. Despite what you might see elsewhere, I do think it's coming. But for now, we are still in La Nina. This is a great post here from our good friend Ben Knoll. La Nina still has some gas left in the tank. The 30-day relative Nino 3.4. What is that? That's that region right there. And he has outlined it with a nice rectangle. That's the 3.4 region. meteorologists, map makers, everybody. We have to outline things and label them and categorize them. That's how science works. That's fine. So that's what we call the Nino 3.4 area. That index has dropped to minus 0.86. So you can round it up and just call it 1 or round it down, whatever. And that's the lowest of the event so far. So the La Nina has almost reached 1 degree Celsius below average. We'll just round down and call it 1 to make it easy. La Nina has contributed to a weaker subtropical jet stream. Ding, ding, ding. There is your one culprit for why winter weather and the boringness of the weather has been, present. The lack of winter weather, anyway. The subtropical jet provides extra energy and moisture, and we've had polar fronts come down, Arctic fronts, but without the subtropical jet to get involved, we haven't had any phasing and we haven't had any craziness with weather. Also, the lack of severe weather owed to this as well. So, very interesting. And you see where we're going to be going with this. La Nina contributing to a weaker subtropical jet. One would deduce then that El Nino, headed that way eventually, should strengthen the subtropical jet and make things more interesting. We'll have to figure out when that's going to happen. So, anyway, the weaker subtropical jet has suppressed, there it is, the chance for East Coast snowstorms, which will probably continue. And all the weather weenies in the East, don't shoot the messengers, Don't unsubscribe. It's not our fault. The weather swings back and forth. We know this. Come on. And it'll swing back in the favor of people who like big time winter weather. But for now, this is a big reason why things are boring. Moving on along. My good friend Dylan Federico posted this brand new, hot off the ECMWF press. The seasonal forecast calls for the La Nina to quickly collapse this spring with a moderate to strong El Nino developing by the summer. This is the map version of what would be May, June, and July of 2026. Sea surface temperature anomalies. We'll use blue to highlight everything. There is your spike in equatorial Pacific sea surface temperatures, and the Atlantic kind of coolish through the main development region, etc. Warmest of the water in the subtropics. That does not yield a very active hurricane season in terms of numbers. But numbers don't matter in the end in terms of impacts. We know that. We'll address that later, months down the road. But it looks like El Nino is headed our way. I retorted, and you can see my retort right here, because Dylan said this is a big deal because El Nino events are typically associated with below average tropical activity in the Atlantic basin. And I said it'll be an even bigger deal if the Euro finally gets it right in terms of how aggressive it seems to make every warm INSO event. And Dylan knows we've seen it in the past, but he said, he retorted to my retort, that it did pretty well with it in 2023. But we have noticed that the System 5 here from the Euro tends to overdo the INSO every year. It seems to. And I could pull some stuff for a later show to prove that to you. I don't like to make bombastic statements without backup. So I'll have to make a note of that. Let me show you some plumes from the past, and we'll show you what actually happened, and I can prove that to you. So we'll see. Is the Euro finally getting it right? And of course, this is an ensemble distribution. On the high end, there's +2 Celsius. So basically 1 2/3 degrees warmer than normal. And on the low end, barely an El Nino. So we shall see. Interesting times ahead. And this has big ramifications not only on the hurricane season, but all kinds of things, including severe weather, etc., so forth and so on. All right. Speaking of all of that, what does it look like today? Glad you asked, because we have maps for that. There's the aforementioned La Nina still holding on. But way over here in the Westpac, you got all this very warm surface water. And eventually, as the trades slow down and you actually start developing westerly winds that come from the west, you help to create what are called these downwelling Kelvin waves. And since I don't have good 3D animation techniques, I'll just do it with my hands. So the westerly winds come along and they help to create a downwelling Kelvin wave where you're kind of forcing that warm pool down into the depths. And then it moves along as a deep layer conveyor belt surfacing in the East Pack, and with the trades that may be light, but they're still there. You just get that conveyor belt going and you upwell basically warm water. Normally you upwell cold water, but if the subsurface is warmer than average, then you're just upwelling warm water, and that gets spread out like thin warmed butter along also warm toast, and you get a warm INSO event, or what we call El Nino. And that will happen throughout this area. This will warm first here in the East Pack. And as I was talking to Eric Webb the other day, in fact, when the Nino 1-2 region warms, that has a big bearing on what happens with severe weather and strengthening the subtropical jet and other factors and things to look at. But as we move through the coming months and monitor how this INSO event progresses, we're going to talk about how it'll affect Atlantic hurricane activity and East Pack hurricane activity. Remember, we got friends in Cabo and our friends in Southern Cal. Hillary, 2023 came in very impactful for Southern California. I was out there for it. And this could also impact the southwest monsoon. So there is a lot that goes into what results from an INSO event, warm or cold. And when they get warm, it gets to be really interesting. All right, moon time almost. I forgot that. Did I pull this up? Yeah, I did. I forgot I had these bookmarked. I want to show you this. This is the tweet that I wanted to show you the bookmarks for. Let me drop that. There we go. Kind of going back a little bit, I saw this pop up in my algorithm, so I wanted to bring it up. Here in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, you know what? I was so busy last year with all kinds of stuff, not hurricanes, at least making landfall. I didn't realize this. It just got past me, and I should know this stuff, but that's okay. Tropical Storm Chantal, shown here, that's the radar, was the United States' only landfalling tropical system last year. And I missed it. I was down in Pensacola visiting my wife's parents, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, not complaining, but no, I was not here in the Carolinas for the only landfalling system. Hey, you can't be in both places at once, and there will always be future storms, but time with your family is very, very important. Nevertheless, I didn't realize that. And they have a top 10 list. We don't have David Letterman anymore on Late Night with David Letterman to do his top 10 list and with the cards and everything that he would do. So we'll do a top 10 here from the National Weather Service here in Wilmington. And I bet my friend Tim Armstrong wrote this. Let's just scroll to the end and see if it'll let me. It won't let me. That's fine. We'll find out. I think this was authored, and I don't know. I'm not like rigging the system, so to speak, where I already know the answer, but I bet my friend Tim wrote this. We'll see. Anyway, top 10 events here in Southeast North Carolina and the county warning area for the Wilmington WFO. Number one, and maybe these are not necessarily like number one is the biggest event, but it is number one, whatever that means, is the January 21st to 22nd winter storm, where we have had more snow down here in parts of the Gulf Coast and certainly the Carolinas than areas up north. Crazy. This is the most impactful snowstorm in our area in about 35 years. How about that? And I noticed they embedded this YouTube video, and I thought, hey, I recognize that. And I thought, of course I do, because I'm the one that took that drone video. That was up on the Fox Weather. I remember that. That was a cold morning when I got that shot. Number two, the March 1st through June 4th, Covington Drive wildfire near Myrtle Beach. That burned for a while. And that was a really impactful wildfire. I remember this. March 16th, 17th, Pender County tornado and Cape Fear waterspout. Yep, we did have tornadic activity here in the Cape Fear region. Number four, May 30th, South Carolina severe thunderstorm outbreak. We all remember that, especially Weather-Scott. Yep, you remember that? And my good friend, Jamie Arnold, he and I go way back to when we were both in college. And These are some damage pictures from this event. Number 5, another severe thunderstorm outbreak, June 25th. Number 6, Chantal. And again, I was down there in Pensacola area. This went on to create some serious flooding up here in parts of the Triangle. And my son was very lucky. He did not have freshwater flooding in his townhouse, but some of his friends did up in the Carborough area. Toasty in late July. Of course it was. I was out in Arizona where it was even more toasty. 100 plus temperatures in southeast North Carolina and vicinity. Um, the heat index, the heat indices, that's index plural, reached levels around 115 in Laurinburg, 114 Myrtle Beach, etc., 112 in Wilmington. That is getting it. Excessive heat warnings, those are rare in our part of the world. This I did cover. August 18th, 19th, rip currents from Hurricane Erin. And I was out on the Outer Banks for that. And that began this big onslaught of waves that would topple lots of houses in Rodanthe and then eventually Buxton. Coastal storm, I also covered this. Of course, I was in Delaware for this. 10th and 11th of October. And finally, number 10, the November 10th earliest snow, local snow ever recorded. I saw it. I was here for that too. All I had to do is turn on my Nest Cam or pull it up on my app, our security cameras here at the house. I wasn't going to get out of bed for some flurries, but it did register and it did count. So November 10th, the earliest local snow ever. And right here. And I remember I told my kids, like over a text, they were like, "You're full of it." Like, nope, it happened. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you that. Top 10 weather. It'd be cool if all the WFOs put something like this together. Oh, I forgot to see who authored this. Let's see if it's at the end. There's number 7, 8, 9, 10. Da-ba-da-ba-da. Sorry, it's going to make you dizzy, isn't it? These are some climate stats. Let's get all the way to the bottom here. And yep, Tim Armstrong. I knew it. He is so good at this stuff. And he lives very close to me, by the way. I could literally fly my drone and land it on his roof from my house, take off again and come back. That's how close he is. Easily. Probably twice over. Just thought I'd tell you that. Doesn't matter. All right. So one of the things I had up in the menu today, to the moon. And yes, we will talk about boring weather. That's coming. These are not in chronological order. But let's talk about the moon. Coming up, hopefully, because I am rooting for this. Weather geek, space geek, astronomy, you name it. If it's in the sky, it's exciting. The target date is February 6th, subject to change, especially this time because we're putting people up there. It's hopefully going to go sooner rather than later. Artemis 2, and we have Wiseman, Glover, Koch, and Hansen. Those are the 4 astronauts that are going to be going, and they're going to go around the moon to practice the whole thing because Artemis 3, coming up a couple years from now, whatever, we'll see humanity land back on the moon, and that is going to be very exciting. They got a countdown. Look at that every day. How about that? So I bring this up because the weather is going to play a big role in this once we get to launch time. And we will be watching that very closely. And depending on when they do, and by the way, I literally have money. I've got a $200, it's not dollar, this is Honduran, what is it called? I just had this sitting over here from when we were in Honduras this past spring. It's a lempiras, or however you say it. I'll put $8 US. I think that's what that's worth on. There's no way they're launching on February 6th. And it's not a slight against NASA and whoever. You got people on it. If that thing launches on the 6th of January, I'll lose my 200 lempiras. Anyway, point is, it's very tedious. It is rocket science, and they got people on it this time, 4 brave souls, and I just don't think it'll go on the 6th. So there'll be a window and a time frame and so forth and so on. All that being said, we're going to keep a close eye on it, and hopefully myself and my friend Mike Farrow can head down there when they do launch and see it in person. And I bring that up because we did exactly that with our good friend Brent from the VI, Virgin Islands, for those of you playing at home. And we saw Artemis 1, and I want to unshare so I can share again with the audio. Get it right this time. Uh, where is it? Wait a minute. Share sound, and we do want high fidelity. There we go. So I'm gonna not, yeah, this is 5 minutes and some change. I'll play. Um, we'll start. Yeah, just play it. Whatever you're watching, enjoy. And by the way, turn your speakers up. Here we go. There it is.
Yeah.
Woo! Woo! Wow! Here comes the sound.
Right by the moon. And that's where it's going.
Here comes the sound.
Smell it.
All right. So yeah, that's my Artemis 1 GoPro video. There is nothing like it. I mean, that was, you could feel it. It was setting off car alarms in the parking lot behind us. And myself and Brent and Mike got to witness that. I took my daughter down August 29th of that year. That was 2022. And that was when they were going to try to launch. We went out for the, I think it was like near dawn or just after sunrise launch, and they scrubbed it. And we waited, and they finally did it there in November, not too long after Hurricane Nicole made landfall. And in that video, there's a boat that you can see. That's a boat that washed up onto the shore there where we were watching from near Titusville or in Titusville, whatever. But hoping to get down there when they do the next launch and see it again and be there for the third when man finally returns to the moon. That's going to be some exciting stuff. And of course, launch weather will be a big part of that. All right. So let's jump back in and continue on. Thank you, YouTube. Let's see, exit the full screen. There we go. So before I get to rumors of storms, I do want to show you, I forgot almost, that we do have a picture from our friend Catherine over in the UK, finally getting some snow. There you go. Catherine Burkett in the United Kingdom sharing her snow picture on our Discord. And we hope to do more of this too, as more of our supporters and friends learn that we're doing this show, and they can post their pictures and we can share it with you folks. Like the other day, the very first day of 2026, when our friend in Columbia shared his picture from South Carolina. So thanks for sending that in, Catherine. We appreciate it. And the snow, she said, still there. All right, so the rumors of storms part, I teased over here that we have boring weather. Well, wait till you see this. So this is the Euro 0Z run, overnight run, and this is the current setup. What color should we pick? I guess we'll use the old red again here. So here's where we are now. A little bit of snow in and around the Lakes region or northwestern Great Lakes and the UP of Michigan and so forth. And then a smattering of precip out west. Otherwise, that is just about it. If we run this animation out, if I can get my mouse, to the next 360 hours, yes, there are a few storm systems that go across the country, including later this week, pretty potent surface cyclone right here, attendant comma shape to it with some snow in the Rockies. And that will be impactful, no doubt. But once we get past that, and even some snow in Kansas and parts of Colorado, I contemplated maybe heading out there for that, but it doesn't look, it's too quick. It's just not a long duration event. Impactful, yes, but not worth $2,000 to go out there and cover it in person. We'll find one. But this moves on up into the Lakes region, and then as we get towards the 12th, this is what I was saying that's so remarkable. The lower 48, I'm going to try to find the right frame here where there was just like nothing there. There it is. This is 12Z, basically a week out or so, Monday, the 12th of January. A little bit of lake effect snow here in New York, a little bit of snow up here in Minnesota, a tiny bit of rain in Washington, maybe a smattering of rain down here, some over here in Texas. That is it. That is about the most boring weather map, and it stays that way for a while. No big time weather seen in the modeling, and then it starts to flip again, of course, by about day 10. But even then, again, right back to the 15th of January overnight, 14th into the 15th, virtually a blank weather map. And I have to think that it is the lack of that subtropical jet. Now we're at hour 282, but even that system that tries to get going heads out to sea. It's just too progressive. We don't have enough blocking way up here off the map over Greenland and vicinity, Southeast Canada, whatever, to slow everything down and jam it up to get these storms to go up the coast. They're heading out when they even do form. So we continue with this lack of major weather systems, which again, the snow cover does hurt ski resorts and it hurts snowpack for spring melt. And this time right here, this has got to be, I think this wins over the other one virtually statistically speaking, zero precip. Like if you just rounded everything to the nearest whole, and it doesn't quite work that way, but like really statistically speaking, it's zero. No precip overnight from the 14th into the 15th. That is incredible. It really is, especially in the heart of winter. And this holds true as well for severe weather. Today, just garden variety, whatever that means, thunderstorms. Basically, no risk of wind, hail, or tornadoes, but just a little bit of convective activity associated with cold upper dynamics in Utah, extreme southern Wyoming, and northwest Colorado, and then way over here in northwest California, right along the coast. These are our areas where there could be just a little bit of thunderstorm activity, and you can read about it right here if you want to, but the overall probability is very, very low for any organized severe weather. Tomorrow, zip. Of course, that could change by the time we get to tomorrow. And then as we get out to day 3, a little bit more in the way of convective activity spreading southwest to northeast through here. And again, the Pacific Northwest staying pretty active. But I want to draw your attention to the day 4 through 8 time frame, because day 5 here, kind of rare in the wintertime to see this. And this is important that we are seeing this. That means we're going to talk about it more. This is 5 days out. So this will be Friday, right along the Mississippi Valley. This will certainly get CJ's attention and a lot of other chasers out there as well, I am sure. But the setup looks like we could have on day 5, Friday, overall suboptimal, but the pattern looks like it could favor air mass modification being sufficient enough with a broad swath of strong to southwesterly mid-level flow that should be strengthening, that we could see some severe weather. This is out at day 5, and there's already a 15% So I would expect we're going to see a slight risk in here when we get close enough to that time frame, and we're going to have to watch this carefully for our friends along that part of the Mississippi Valley, and we will do just that. All right. All right. Any questions, comments, or whatever from you fine folks? Let's stop the screen share for a moment as I read the chat and see who all is talking or whatever. Yep, thumbs up, and no rainy or snowy football games in our future. That's exactly right. That's right. And Catherine, what'd you say? I guess the equivalent for me, rocket launch rise, is being at my local air show 12 years ago, 30 meters or so away, about 100 feet, starting its engines. That caused a rib cage mega quake. Yep. Yeah, that Artemis was something else. And I understand that the Starship down in Texas there at Boca Chica from SpaceX, those also can bust the rib cage up a little bit. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We definitely will keep an eye on that severe weather threat potentially coming up for Friday, and that will be more of a focus of the shows going forward, just to make sure people are aware some of the timing, what to expect in terms of impacts, and depending on who's available and so forth, we might have somebody come on that can address it a little further, maybe even somebody from a WFO, Weather Forecast Office in said region, or SPC. You just never know. We will ask and we shall see what happens. So, beyond that, though, I'm pretty much done for today. We covered a lot. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, tell your friends that you think might be into this when we're on. It's right around 10 a.m. usually. Today, a little bit early. If I'm ever going to be notably early or late, I haven't been late yet, I'll definitely leave a little YouTube community update thing for you, or post it on our Discord, and you'll know. But today I had to go a little bit early, but whatever. We're still done at about 20 minutes till 11. So with that, I will bid you a happy Monday. And again, thank you for tuning in. From all of us at the Hurricane Track family, I am Mark Sudduth. Good to be with you today. I'll see you again tomorrow.